I have some thoughts for you today about resilience. So often we talk about resilience in terms of real passivity, real passive terms. It often looks like how far he bounced when he hit the floor, those kinds of terms. Just more like, as he or she went along with whatever the circumstances were that were really bad, when they came out the other side, things were just good from a real passive tense because they had a lot of bounce in them. But I think the version of resilience that makes our heart come to life, that resonates with us, is a really active sense, like what you did with what you had to work with to make it be something really important or big or good or beautiful or whatever it was that you were looking for. It's not just a passive bouncing, it's an active doing with what you've got to work with. Um, Something that requires is creativity. You've got to be able to see outside the box. And I think one of the things that disappears rather quickly when we are under a lot of anxiety or stress or just overwhelmed is our sense of creativity. We don't have the wherewithal to see the options outside of the box or try to make options outside of the box because we're so stuck just trying to get through the day. We get caught up in just doing what we know to do without thinking outside of that box because we're trying to survive. But resilience looks like being creative enough to take things, to see outside of the normal, to use minimal, to use what you've got to work with without having such a focus on what you don't have anymore, and using it again to make something beautiful or important or meaningful in your life. I am a bit of an artist, although it has taken me decades to call myself an artist. I can tell you that there are some days where I can't even draw a stick figure well. When I have a ton of stuff going on, a lot of emotional things I have to deal with, which is pretty much every day because I'm sitting in a lot of stories all day long, every day. But when I am really overwhelmed by the stories and life and stuff and deadlines, I cannot hardly draw a stick figure. It even that, which as simple as that sounds, even that doesn't look well. But when I take the time to do some self-care, get my head in a good place, deal with the overwhelm, I can tell that my sense of creativity reawakens a bit, which allows me to do portraits, for example. One of my fortes is the ability to do charcoal portraits that look really like the people I'm trying to draw, which still amazes me because, again, it took me a long time to call myself an artist. But the point is that when I am overwhelmed, I have no sense of creativity. I don't have a desire to draw. I can't make things look good. Most of what I try to do in that period ends up in the trash. Or I sell it on eBay because I've learned the uglier something is, the better it sells on eBay. Just enough. But I also have learned that it takes that creativity, taking what I've got to work with to make something beautiful. It takes that to bring my heart to life and to be able to see the options outside of the box again, to be able to do something really cool with what I've got to work with. If I translate that same idea to life, that when I'm overwhelmed, when I have, a life, a story I'm trying to tell, a life I'm trying to walk out, I've got to sometimes get really creative about the next steps because there's a lot of chaos, there's a lot of noise, there's a lot of things that I don't have to work with anymore, especially because I'm getting older. And there are things that are different than what I have known before. And I've got to be able to take those and use them to see my next right step. A vital part in reviving a relationship in a marriage also requires resilience, not just the passive bounce, how you roll off from this stuff that you had to deal with, but how you collaborate together to build something new, even with the limited stuff that you have to work with, and using all of that to take the steps to create a life that you love being a part of. So, those are some random thoughts about resilience I'd love for you just to marinate on and think about.